live, I believe. Let me know if you can hear me. Raise your hand. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. And it is buffering. Great. From what I can see, it's buffering. I don't know if it's buffering for you all, but it seems to be buffering for me. It's not good. Not a good way to start a live stream. So if you can hear me, please let me know. I don't know if this is picking me up or not. It looks like it's just buffering. Oh, yours is not buffering, so it's just mine. All right. So maybe I should just ignore my screen here. All right, great. So I asked everybody for requests for live streams, and I went in order from who posted first. And we're going to be doing Tank Callie requested scary camping stories or forest stories, but open hyperlink. There we go. All right. So as long as I can see you guys chatting, then I'll know that you can hear me, and I'll ignore my screen that I keep seeing it just buffering nonstop. It's ridiculous. Let's see. I can just give you guys a brief run here. I'm going to give us a couple of seconds here. So this is what we've got queued up for the evening, unless something happens and I buffer and we get cut short. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but let's be real, happens. First is Tank Callie wanted scary camping stories. I got as close as I could for some of the requests. It was a little difficult. Wasn't exactly able to find exactly what you guys wanted. Um, I mean, but I just took the title and ran with it to see what I could find. Arthur Valdez requested scary dog stories. Um, so I didn't get anything where dogs harmed anyone or anyone harmed dogs. So don't have to worry about that. Element wanted encounters with serial killers. Gling requested creepy close calls. Tall Guy 32 requested scary encounters with mentally ill. Xena requested a few. I went with voodoo, and then I had to go with ended up finding stories of voodoo sites that you can visit today, which looked scary all by itself. Cats wanted cult horror stories, which go kind of hand in hand with what Xena wanted, but these are more specific and scary. And then Element had a second request, and those are glitch in the matrix stories. I just heard a big thing of thunder and lightning outside. It's been crazy stormy here all day. Like I think we're on day 3 of crazy heat, crazy storms, just insane. Okay, let me say hi to everybody here. Yeah, me too. Keeping my fingers crossed too. I'll maybe go up here. Xena was here for us, of course, and Isaiah. Phantom Zone, Tank Callie, Gling. Everybody's having a conversation in there. Phantom, Tank, Gling. For Redwall, hello. Roger Hensley, hello. The Swedish Mom, hello. So if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. I thought I said hello to everybody. And all right, just making sure everybody can indeed hear me. It's just buffering. I just got a message too on here when I queued up the event here that you have to use YouTube's thing for streaming, so I'll have to figure that out for next time and see how that works. I've never really played around with it. I just have been doing what I know to use, so that should be fun. Well, I haven't had a live stream in a while. If anybody doesn't know where I've been, my father passed away. Tomorrow will be 4 weeks, and that kind of put everything with screeching, halted brakes. But I'm not gonna go into that. I was gonna talk about that, but that's I'm just gonna graze over that and just move right on. So I hope that's all right with everybody. And I hope you can still hear me because the screen in front of me is still buffering. Not sure why. Oh, thank you. I'm gonna give it like I don't know. I'm not gonna wait very long this time to jump right into it. So we're just gonna start right now with 13 creepy camping encounters that will put you off the great outdoors. Get comfortable. Let's get creepy. Number 1, the crying girl. When I was younger, probably 9 or 10, 10 or 11, I went camping with my family. I'll just get right into it. It was about 1 or 2 in the morning, and I couldn't really sleep. The tent me and my brother were in was really hot and very uncomfortable. Anyway, while I was trying to go to bed, I heard a faint whimper, and I tried to ignore it because I figured I was just tired. Our campsite was along a road with many other camps nearby. The whimper started to get louder and then turned into crying. I heard footsteps outside of our tent and a girl crying. Now, let me tell you, it didn't go faint. It got louder and louder. It remained in the same spot the entire time. That's important because it indicates that she was looking at our tent site, crying. It gets worse. Then it turned into a full on scream for a few seconds, then cuts out. When she started screaming, my brother woke up. We both looked at each other and just got all the pillows and our stuff and stuffed our heads under them. I couldn't sleep at all that night. I'm just glad we left the next morning. Now, wait a minute. You're telling me that no one looked to see if the little girl was okay? Like, that's the end of the story? Uh, hey, Element. Like, seriously, nobody got out to see if the little girl was actually there and screaming? They just assumed it was a scary encounter. Like, what if she needed help? Like, she was just hysterical and couldn't ask for help. You didn't even look. Wow. All right. Number 2. Again, we are on request number 1 of creepy camping encounters. This one's called The Shaking. This happened to an acquaintance of mine and his son. This took place back in the early 90s. We had, he had taken his young son for a father and son type hike out of Skagway. If any of you are familiar with Skag Patch, there's quite a network of trails above town at Lower Dewey Lakes. So it's evening, dinner done, tent up, bedtime. Sometime later, around midnight, he's woken up by the tent shaking violently. Then, silence. Then again. Keep in mind it's late August and pitch black. As pitch black as you can get under the heavy coastal rainforest with no moon. This shaking kept up for over an hour. He had no idea what it was. He went out with his headlamp, yelled, and heard nothing. Would go back in the tent and would start up again. He could hear footsteps whenever it happened. He was pretty shaken up by the next morning, as you could imagine. He reported it to the troopers, and the only thing they could come up with was someone with night vision was set up mess around him and messing with him. Or something else. I feel like that story could have had a lot more details. I feel like these all could, all the time. But again, we're just skimming through. I was trying to make sure everybody's requests were met. 10 p.m. Saturday, yeah. 8. Swedish mom, you think it's about 8-hour difference? I'm a time traveler. 4 a.m. in the morning. Wow, you either have been staying up this late or you got up early. Hmm, you're a tough one. I don't think I can do that anymore. If I do, it's not on purpose. Like, I never stay up till 3 a.m. on purpose. I would like to, but I'll get into that, like, I would like to do some exploring and things like that, stuff that you can really only do in the middle of the night, but whatever. Alright, number 3 of the creepy camping stories. This one's called Middle of the Woods, and again, it's about a paragraph long, so we'll see. This happened to me when I was little. I went camping with my older brother and my mom. I was about 7 or 8. I went to bed around 10 in a sleeping bag inside my tent with both my mom and brother. Sometime during the night, I don't know when, I woke up somewhere in the middle of the woods, still in my sleeping bag. I had no idea where I was or where my tent was. I screamed for my mom and heard her calling back for me in a panic, but she was easily 100 yards away or so. To this day, I have no idea how I ended up in the middle of the woods, still in my sleeping bag. Gives me the chills. Well, I have an idea. You were either it was an attempted abduction by either a stranger or an animal that was taking you back to its cave and gonna eat it. Eat ya. Oh my god. Oh, no. It's hard to sleep when you have to sit up. I had to do that for 3 months when I got a herniated disc, like, right at C5, if anybody knows, like, how your, vertebrae is numbered. C5 is where your neck meets your back. So I have, like, long story short, I had to sleep sitting in a recliner for, like, 3 months, and even when I went back to a bed, I had to, like, lay flat, and I had at least 2 or 3 pillows underneath my head, and I had some on my left side so I wouldn't roll and then screw up my back again, so I really do feel your pain. Um, I had to get I can't remember what exactly it's called, but they did, like, silicone injections. I had 3 of them done, and until the first one allowed my muscles to stop being in a constant, Charlie horse. The second one allowed me to, um I think it was the third one where I could finally turn my head. So I was driving and living my life, but you can't, like, my head and my shoulders had to turn at the same time, so I don't know where your pain is. Oh, so yours is your lower back? Or is that mid? Whew, I feel your pain. I really do. I do not I hope you feel better soon. I really do. You're kinda just, like, makes you feel like a prisoner in your own body. That sucks. Alright, number 4, The Hanging Man. Maybe this one will be a little bit better, but hopefully it's not like, at the expense of someone. So, hiking the Appalachian Trail in Pennsylvania for a week in 2006, and my brother and I came across a young man who had hung himself. We sprinted up to the bluff where he was strung up. I wrapped my arms around his waist to take the weight off his neck while my brother cut him down with his Leatherman. He had thrown the rope over a tall branch and lashed it off with a clove hitch at the trunk like you'd hang a bear bag. Must have climbed the branches and dropped once laced in. We probably shouldn't even have tried, because he had been dead for some time before we found him. Fortunately, no critters had come to tear him apart before we found him. It would have only gotten grislier from there. Called 911, ended our trip pretty damn quick. I don't know why we tried. It was very obvious he had been dead for some time. I don't know how long. He was very cold and smelled really bad. Intuition to help someone and adrenaline that clouds your judgment, I guess. It was kind of a fucked up day, so I don't really remember my thought process. I think I've heard that before, and I think I've read that before too to you guys. So If you've heard it before, sorry about that. Yeah, you can see that too, but then I've heard another conspiracy theory that that's not what it actually was, so kinda hard to tell if people if people say one thing and other people say another, and then we can't go find out for ourselves, it kinda sucks. I did 2 ops that went wrong, and now I have permanent nerve damage. No pills, too strong one sucks. Hmm. Mm. Number 5. Man, I'm just so sorry, Swedish mom, that's so much pain. I know it is. Um, scratches. Number 5 of 13 camping stories. About 1 month ago, we're riding a favorite trail up near Camp Verde. Oldest son is leading, youngest is following him. A friend behind him and I am sucking up rear. Come over a hill and see my youngest son with all of his gear off and his jersey. Came up asking what was wrong, thinking he was crashed. He said his back was burning. I looked, and there were 3 scratches across his back. Looked like claw marks. No blood, but very distinct. He had a chest and back protector on, so there was no way a tree branch or anything got him. We finally got him geared back up and headed out. About 30 minutes later, we reached a spot where we always stop for a break, and I asked him to take the jersey off so that I could see the scratches again. They were completely gone. Okay, that's weird. I don't know if it's scary, but I mean, he could have scratched himself putting his gear on, so I don't know. Are you at a point like I am where you feel like you could debunk almost every story? You know, I don't know if anyone else could feel this, but, like, when I start talking about someone else's back pain, mine is now throbbing. Like, most of the time I can block it out. I don't take pills for it or anything. I know, like, I painted our, Halloween kitchen last week or 2 weeks ago. Anyways, afterwards, because I have nerve damage down my left arm, I can only feel about half of it, and so and I'm left-handed. So after I got done painting, I kept hello, hello. There we go. I don't know what was wrong there. Okay. Nope, I'm here. Just wait a second, you can hear me. Don't leave. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Let me know that you guys can hear me. Is that a thumbs up? Okay, good. Okay, there was something wrong with the microphone. I bumped one of my cords, so yeah. Hey, fear the great white choo-choo. I never say that right. What's this say now? I have lifelong chronic pain and opioids are the only thing that works. Heroin was better, but I had to go because it came all consuming. Yeah, I just don't take anything. Yeah. Aspirin sometimes, but even that, it's too easy to become addicted to that crap. I've seen it happen to way too many people, so I just stay away from it. All right, we are doing, if you are just now joining us, I asked everyone for requests during the week, and then we're on request number 1 still. And this was from, I believe, Tank. asked for creepy camping stories. We're on number 6 of 13 of that set of stories, so this one's called Music in the Night. A couple of years ago, my brother bought a large piece of land out in the middle of nowhere, about 30 miles or so from cell phone reception. It's quiet. There's no light pollution, no paved roads, and not a lot of people around. Shortly after he bought the place, two of my brothers, the landowner and another, me, and our family spent a weekend camping on the land and doing our best to clean it up. People had been using it as a dump, and there were many downed trees, etc. On the second night we camped there, I woke up in the middle of the night to take a leak, and as I was walking to the bushes in the dark, I realized that I could faintly hear music. This didn't strike me as odd because I knew my brother had a radio in his camper. I finished up and went back to sleep with no further thought on the matter. The next morning at breakfast, I mentioned the radio and music. Several other people recalled waking in the night and hearing music, but no two people heard the same music. Finally, the brother who brought the radio woke up. I asked him about the music, and he seemed a bit freaked out. He woke up sometime during the night and went outside to smoke. He heard the music as well and assumed it was someone else. I should mention that he was the only one with a generator and a radio. It wasn't his radio we heard. It wasn't anyone else's either. I've been back several times, but I'm a bit freaked out by that place at night. I have fun while I'm there, but I'm almost always armed, and I don't sleep in a tent anymore. I'll sleep in my SUV with the doors locked. It may seem kind of dumb, but realizing that everyone heard different music when there were no people, no functional radios, and no electricity is severely creepy. Hmm, that seemed like that could have been a lot scarier, like way scarier. I don't like to smoke stuff, but I've had edibles, and my father-in-law actually gave my husband because my husband's got a lot of joint pain, no pun intended. But he had some hemp and not and so the funny thing is people use CBD, but it doesn't have the THC in it, which is really an element that's helpful, especially in pain relief. Um, so you can make an oil or ointment out of it. And so when he would put that on, it would work, but then it still wears off like everything else does because it's medicinal anyways. So anything can be bad when you use it in excess. As long as you're using it in moderation, you should be fine, but it's, I'm not here to judge anybody. Uh, Flat Earth, of course, weed smokers with an addiction are going to say it helps with everything. Well, okay, are you here to insult people or not? But um no. Like I just said, anything can be used in moderation. And like, yeah, see, you use opioids, but you can't smoke weed. So, um, if you're gonna judge weed smoke, okay, so I'm not understanding your comment then. Weed smokers with an addiction, I really think you need to do some research because I don't really understand your comment there. I refuse to take any kind of opioids. I don't do anything that's not in moderation. I think I've had a, bottle of gin in my fridge for, like, 3 months. I bought gin and vermouth because I wanted to learn how to make a martini, which ended up tasting like paint thinner. Um, so, I mean, I have stuff there that I just don't use, so well, I mean, some people think water cures everything. Some people think aspirin cures everything. But you know what doesn't cure everything and is totally legal? Fucking alcohol and opioids. Mhm. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go back to the creepy camping stories now. And, yeah, the light. This is number 7 of 13 of the first set of stories. We were in a riverside cabin one night in northern Michigan. I had just stretched out when a huge crack erupted from the woods. Both of us thought it was a branch or an old tree that had fallen. After he turned off the living room light, we noticed was coming that light was coming from windows, abnormally strong. This sent our nerves to a new high. The light seemed to pulse several times and got so bright at one point you could have read a book by it. It could have been a car as we were almost a mile off the road. Oh, it couldn't have been a car. Plus, the light came in from all the windows equally. Every so often, we would hear a strange humming noise that penetrated our cabin. This lasted almost half an hour. We talked about just running out to the car and leaving, but neither one of us wanted to go outside. After the light went out, we sat on the couch, occasionally putting forth theories on what it could have been. Around 4 o'clock in the morning, there was another loud crack. We worried that the light might come back, but nothing happened. Oh, come on. The story of something that almost happened. Boo. Oh. Number 8, Blue Specter. You guys can still hear me, right? Yeah, you must hear me because you just said aliens. Okay. All right. My friend and I were walking just outside of the circle of cabins. It was a bright night with all the stars shining and the moon was well lit. There was a campfire going, and in one of the big cabins, there was a party going on with music and everything. We were walking, and we both got a really weird feeling as if we were being watched. We both turned around toward the sea. We saw a blue figure, very tall, about 7 feet, walking through the trees. It made no sound at all. It was a bright blue and glowing figure walking through the forest. It was emitting a shimmery aura, and my friend and I were both became very frightened. We shouted at whatever the thing was, and we were asking it what it was. We got no reply, of course, but we expected one. We stared as it walked away and out of our vision. We didn't dare follow it. We then ran back to the group of people at the campfire, screaming and describing what we saw. Another friend of mine claimed he was watching it from a distance not far from where we were. It was just as frightened as we were. Again, a case of something almost happened. It'd be nice if some of these people took pictures. Doesn't everybody? Oh, goodness. Okay. See, I'm arguing in the chat there. So let's calm it down and listen to the stories. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, as long as no one's going to insult anyone else. Great new cell phone pics. I know they could have at least submitted those, but they don't have them. Um, no, it's okay. I mean, a light teasing is okay, but I mean, it's easy to get carried away in our personal opinions when, yeah, it's okay. Let's just move on. Number 9, footsteps upstairs. Not something I experienced, but my sister and her husband did. My family used to have a cabin on a lake in the North Woods. It's a lake with no public access. On the other side was or is, an old girls' camp that the state was letting fall apart. The camp had a large 2-story main house that was mostly intact at the time. My sister and her husband decided to check out the camp one day. They canoed over and started to walk around. They went into the main house first, walked around for a bit, and then they heard heavy footsteps upstairs. These footsteps turned into someone running heavily toward the stairs. My sister and her husband booked it out of the house, but they could hear the steps coming down the stairs and on the main level as they ran out. They opted to run around the house instead of heading back to the shore. They never saw who it was, but they heard them enter back into the house, and then they heard them storm back outside again. They went into the woods this time and heard someone running into the woods after them. They took the long way around the lake back to the cabin. My dad and I had to go back later that day to get the canoe. We never heard or saw anything. Yikes. Again, it seems like there could have been a lot more a lot more details to that story there. Yeah, Ohana. I'm just reading everybody's comments, so don't think that I Did you see that? Does anybody see that meme where they're like, um, satellite pictures from space and it'll be like some random bullshit picture, but then it'll be like, "Have you seen this man?" And it'll be security photos of like somebody that robbed someone and it's all grainy and you can't even tell if it's a human. Number 10. This one's not very long, so hopefully it's scary. Geocaching. I've been geocaching in the woods many times, and occasionally one runs into caches with weird things in them. The creepiest was an ammo box with only a handful of finds that contained broken doll parts and a handwritten note that said, "Look behind you." I definitely had the heebie jeebies and double timed it back to my car despite it being in the middle of the day. It crossed my mind before that geocaching would be a great way for a serial killer to lure people out to remote locations. Yeah. How did it just now cross people's minds? That's the first thing I thought of when I saw people going out into the middle of the woods looking for crap like that. I'm like, isn't that a really good way for people to know where the people are at and they can just like off them right there? Number 11, this one's titled Who Followed Us? This happened in 81 or 82, not sure anymore. I made friends with a fellow I worked with and offered to take him gigging for frogs. He was from the city and had never spent any time in the woods at night. The farm I had permission to do it on was only about a mile from my place. My friend showed up at about 10:30 or so and I gave him a gig and a flashlight. We decided to walk to the other farm. We didn't get far before we both heard something walking in the dark to the side of us. Now, I've been in the woods all my life, and I've had plenty of deer follow me, but I wasn't going to tell him that. It was clear he was getting spooked. We climbed a fence and continued on. Then we heard something else climb the fence. Deer don't climb fences. I tried looking around with a flashlight, but he wanted none of it. We could see the house lights of the place we were going to and ran off. And he ran off on me and beat me to the guy's door until they let him in. Oh, he beat on the guy's door, excuse me. By the time I got there, Mr. Barber, the landowner, and his wife were out on the porch and wanted to know what was going on. Mr. Barber and I went back and had a look around but found nothing. My friend refused to walk back, and Mr. Barber gave us a ride back to my place. We never did find out who or what it was that would have been following us. We decided that frogging wasn't for him. He has also refused to go on several fishing trips I've invited him to. I can't say I was too comfortable with what happened, but I haven't let it stop me from frogging. Okay, you go on, Frogger. Oh, I just realized. Frogger, get it? Okay. Oh, you guys wanna talk about, Storm Area 51? So, if you watch the channel EWU, apparently there's now 2,000,000. It started as a joke, and if you don't know that, it started as a joke, and you can realize that it was started as a joke when they say, "Let's Naratu run into Storm into Area 51," and, that was a joke. Well, now this joke has turned into a very real, uh, mission for many people. The other meme is, most people that are going to want to storm Area 51 have to have their moms drop them off and another mom pick them up. Um, yeah, let's see them aliens. So now the petition has reached, I believe it's 2,000,000 people have vowed to storm Area 51. And the government always says, "Oh, there's nothing there." And now the Air Force has stated that they will vow to protect it. And then there's all these documents that have been brought to they've been public for a while, but people are now like bringing them to light about how the Area 51 workers um weren't even told what they were working with, like, the employees weren't even told what they were working with, and that some of them had very severe side effects. President Clinton declared that Area 51 was, what's the word when you don't have to answer for your things? They didn't have to abide by the EPA guidelines. He made them what's the word when you don't have to abide by something? I can't think of it, but it's a more official thinning the herd. Oh, shit. I mean, people are like, "Well, we should be able to." I mean, you can tour the White House and you can tour other government funded places, but not Area 51. And so probably they could solve all these issues if they would just tell people what exactly is the taxpayer money going to. And then they were talking about the extravagant spending going on there, which of course they are. Um, exempt, exempt from the EPA. Clinton declared it. Never even heard that until today. It was something I was, listening to this morning. That's how I start my days. I don't know about you guys, but I start my days like, "I made it. Cats, hello." If I didn't say hello to someone, I'm sorry if I missed anyone that's here and I didn't say hello yet. Slightly drunk. Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff. They have, like, all kinds of stuff, yeah. Alright, let's get back to this, and then we can move on to the next set of stories. So, there's 2 more, I'm just gonna read them straight through. Number 12 is The Circle. I was backpacking in New Hampshire, camped out for the night after a day hike. I wandered off from our fire to take a piss and stumbled upon a circle etched into the ground with tuning forks surrounding the circle standing straight up. It looked like a creepy ritual circle, and it bugged me out. So I booked it back to the group. That's the story? That's not even a story. God, could have added something to it. And number 13 is the gator. A few years ago, I was camping in the Everglades in Florida with a few friends. We had all gone into our separate tents and were starting to fall asleep. The area was pretty noisy with bugs, crickets, birds, etc. I heard this very low vibration, almost like a low roar. It was powerful enough to vibrate in my chest. Suddenly, everything in the forest shut up. No bugs, no birds, nothing. About 30 seconds later, my phone vibrates and it's my friend in the other tent texting me asking me if I heard the same thing. The four of us kept texting each other, wondering what it was. About 10 minutes later, all the animals slowly started making noise again. I slept that night with my machete at arm's reach. A lot of people are saying it might have been a gator. We were in an elevated area that was far from any streams or ponds. It's possible there might have been a pond with a gator that we missed, but the very big ones tend to hang out in lakes. Whoa. That one was kind of scary. I mean, not like terrifying, but yikes. All right, that's number one, the first set. Woohoo. I don't did Arthur Valdez, did he make it to the stream? He requested dog stories. And I don't even think they're scary, the ones that I found, because I'm not gonna read any stories where a dog gets hurt or kids get hurt or someone has to hurt the dog. Like I'm not gonna read those. We all know that none of us like that. Nobody likes that here. Not welcome here with your violence. We just don't like the hurting of innocent people. We want creepy without the sad. Right? Am I right? Okay, hello Nightmare Files. We were talking about Area 51 and streaming doing some request reads. Yeah, I'm just gonna skip over those. If Arthur's not here, I might skip these just because I don't think they're very scary, the stories that I found. Um, you like cats. I like both. I have both dogs and cat. Well, I have only one dog now, so. All right, so we're gonna skip to Elements story, and if Arthur shows up, then I'll read his request. So I think I'm gonna do that from now on. Um, maybe not. I don't know. Open hyperlink. So Element requested encounters with serial killers, and I found some. And I actually don't think that I had read these before, so I'm excited about it. Except for I'm not excited about all the ads on the website where I found them. That's not cool. Not cool at all. Mm-mm. Um, okay. Okay. I lost my page. I didn't lose my page, I just got distracted. All right. All right. So, this it looks like they might have taken these from Reddit, but I'm not sure. So, I'm not stealing these from Reddit. This is from Ranker, and Ranker looks like either they asked people from Reddit or they swiped them from Reddit. So, good luck with that, Ranker. I don't know. Here's the first one. These ones are not numbered, but there are 23 of them, so we'll see. Let's see. The first one says, while growing up in Poughkeepsie, New York, when I was about 12 or 14 years old, one of my brother's friends became very close with our family. He called my mother Mom and was considered one of the family. He even took one of my sisters out to a movie date at one point. Coming home from work one night, my brother told my mom that the cops showed up where he and Nate worked and arrested Nate. Turned out that Nate was following girls between the ages of 14 to 20 in Dutchess and Orange counties. That's ironic. And had already taken the lives of 6, strangling and bludgeoning them and disposing of the bodies on the side of the road. Nathaniel White was his name. If that wasn't bad enough, fast forward about 6 years ago and 2 blocks from my house. They arrested Kendall Francois and located 8 dead women in his home, which he shared with his mother, dad, and 14-year-old sister. Apparently, although the place reeked, none of the other people in the house were even remotely aware of the corpses. Additional craziness? My history teacher in Poughkeepsie Middle School was Albert Frentress, a known cannibal. Damn, right off the bat, these ones are better. Wow. That's creepy. Can you imagine that? Someone that's like in your home every day, do, have no idea that they're fucking murdering people. I mean, I'm sure that's how most of that goes, but jeez. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you guys, I don't know how many more videos I would make here just because it seems like um they've started really screwing with horror channels again. Um I'm really leaning towards live streaming podcasting. I would really love to be able to broadcast to a wider audience that's not, you know, another thing that it's not just monetization. They if they don't like your videos, they don't promote them, and that makes it harder to grow and to have more people listen to your what you're trying to do. And so I would like to podcast because I know that you can spread that out into an even bigger net and see if people can hear you. So I don't know. I don't know. You never know who's a crazy psychopath. I know. Gun channels are editing. Oh, gun channels? Yeah, that's why. Douche tube. There you go. Yeah. It's cool. I'll never just like leave you guys though without no. Right. And I think I know that if you can find a way to create your podcast, I've noticed that Anchor will put it on Spotify and I think iTunes. And that gives you a really large audience. Now that was, they broadcast it, but I think you'd still need to be pushing it on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and any other viable social media platform to, to make sure you keep casting your net out there. But anyways, let's get back to this. That first one was pretty good, yeah. I mean, that was like, damn. As long as the books are, if you open just about any book, right in the first page in the bottom, it will say not to be read or used for there's specific wording that says it. But you can Google free domain or free to read or something like that. There's all kinds of genres and books that you can do for free. Um, but I cannot like take Exorcist. I can't take The Exorcist and record a podcast of me reading The Exorcist chapter by chapter and then put it out there and expect to get paid for that. Like that's a point where like that's like I mean, that's like taking something Stephen King wrote and expecting to just, like, be able to just read that and get paid for it and have no consequences. You really can't do that. Um, if there was a way for them to automatically get paid as a result or something, because, yeah, you're going into legal territory that you don't wanna mess with. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So yes, you can, but then no. And also, I've got a couple more ideas too that would benefit writers more than YouTube does, and it actually, um, would help them get paid because now, I've did about 4 audiobooks that's paid me consistently since I've done that, and each time I've tried to do another one, something comes up in my life where I just can't. But I've thought that, um, now if you are, an audiobook producer, like the voice person, which is me, and then you're a writer. So what happens is, of course, ACX, which is also Audible, takes a chunk out of whatever you put up there. I'll just go over this really quickly and then I'll move on to the stories. Anyways, long story short, they get a big cut and then you split the leftover with the author. So it would be more beneficial than putting it on YouTube would be to put it on Audible, short stories, make them really cheap. You can set the price yourselves. Um, so I'll go into that more with authors or something else on another time. So, um, anyways, Reagan's Ambies. Hello. We are on our second set of stories. If you want to go back, we did creepy camping stories, and to be honest, eh, they were kind of creepy, but nah. But now we have delved into 23 random encounters with serial killers, and so far the first one was pretty creepy, so welcome. This one's titled Wanted Man Pretended to be Her Friend's Cousin. So my friend and I carpool to and from work together every day. It was late at night, and I was waiting for her to come pick me up when her cousin drove past and told me she was running late and had asked if he could come pick me up so I wouldn't have to wait so long alone. I met her cousin only once, very briefly at a wedding she had dragged me to a few months ago. He seemed nice then and now, so I agreed. I was about to step into the car, but then I realized I had left my purse inside my work. I told him I'd be 2 seconds to go grab it. Went back into work, grabbed my purse. My phone rang. It was my friend. She said she was on her way to come and pick me up. Confused, I reminded her that she had asked her cousin to pick me up. Silence. She only has one cousin, and he was on a missionary trip in another country. Turns out this guy had been memorizing every detail of my life and schedule and knew I would be waiting for my friend every night to pick me up. He dressed up as my friend's cousin because he knew I wouldn't be afraid of him because I had met him, but I didn't know him well enough to realize it wasn't him. The cops, after a long chase, caught him. He had previously murdered 3 other women, and in the back of his car were poisons, guns, chains, knives, ropes, and masks. Okay, that one was good, but I feel like there was a big chunk of the story that was missing. Like, he didn't pick you up, and then all of a sudden, the police were in a chase with him. And they didn't also say who he was. So, yeah, it's Billy Joe. I mean, I guess you could make good money on YouTube if you have like a million subscribers and constant high views. But I mean, even then, let's not even get into the taxes aspect of it because you're considered self-employed. You have a huge tax thing. But I mean, you'd really have to have a large audience or large amounts of views to really make. I mean, most of the people that make a lot of money are people like Jake Paul, people that you can't stand to watch are the ones that really make a lot of money. I guess I could go be super annoying and try to push people down a flight of stairs and go, "Oh," the whole time that I'm but I just yeah. He used to. He used to make money. I think he's down to himself and maybe a camera person. So, I think YouTube is a stepping stone. If you wanna do voice work, I think it's a good stepping stone into if you wanna go into radio, if you wanna do audiobook, if you want a podcast. I think it's a good way to build an audience, and I think I'll always continue to come here and read as long as someone's listening, and I'll always use it as a way to tell you other things I'm doing or hope to do or whatever. Um, I was just watching a documentary on Jeffrey Dahmer, and I don't think I'm gonna go to bed anytime soon. Oh, I have one. I don't know if you're new to my channel, but I do have a Serial Killer Saturday series, and my Jeffrey Dahmer one was, quite enlightening. The most frustrating part was that, he was almost caught. but the police didn't go into his apartment because they made an assumption and just didn't investigate him. They would have, literally saved a man's life the night that they were almost gonna like, there's a situation there that they could have prevented him from killing the last 1 or 2 people, but yeah. I was making money, but then my channels got taken down to do the story before. Oh, boy. Yeah, I think that really if you're not like a DIY channel or a makeup channel or, what's another channel that you think, like, besides DIY and makeup channels? It was a kid and he was 14. Yo, you mean, John Wayne Gacy? Yep. Yeah, the guy said it the same. I know there's, like, a delay, but you typed it as soon as I said John Wayne Gacy, you were typing it. Yeah. I've never done one on him just because I thought his story had been overtold, and I really enjoyed searching and finding and educating people on lesser known serial killers that were way, way worse than you had ever heard about in mainstream media. And I've said this before, but Enriqueta Marti was probably the worst serial killer in history because there's no way to know how many she killed. Everyone assumes that I think the other one that's up there is, well, besides, it's the he's not Dracula, but his, Vlad the Impaler. Um, but that's also speculation, I've been told, about the number of people that he's killed. Not that he's any less scary. Um, but I think Daria Saltikova, the Saltichika, she was probably the second worst serial killer that I've ever reviewed. Both women, by the way. Only and Saltichika was from, she was like a noble person, so she got away with shit, and the other lady was just under the radar for decades, and that's how she got away with it, and she moved around a lot, so but yeah, if you get a chance to, now Countess Bathory was bad and evil, but she still didn't kill as many people as Marti or Saltichika. Yeah, get scared when I see this young girls that show about everything on camera. Oh, I'm not even gonna get into that. No, I did also do a story on, Ted Bundy, and it bothers me that until I did a story on him, I had never known that he was more than likely, almost probably 99% sure that he was a product of incest, which explains all of his psychotic behavior. Okay, so I am going to keep reading these stories. Um, I can hear thunder and lightning, so I cannot promise that we're gonna get through all these stories before something happens, like the power goes out. Because if the power goes out, that means that my internet will go out, um, so my computer's charged, but alright, this one's called "Almost Became a Victim of Angel Maturino Resendez. When I was 17, I went to Project Acon, an anime convention in Dallas, Texas, with a friend. We were supposed to meet her sister as at the hotel, and we would share a hotel room. She never showed up. The weekend turned into searching until she was found. The Texas Railroad killer snuck into her apartment while she packed for the trip and took her life with a pickaxe. It has haunted me ever since, especially since the original plan was to drive to her sister's that night and carpool to the hotel together. I'll never know if he would have picked a different victim or if he would have just killed all of us. What? That's terrible. The guilt they must live with is insane. Like, isn't it storming where you're at, Tank, or did it calm down? It's been insane. Last night, my husband and I went to get like our favorite salads, and it literally didn't start raining until we were gonna wait till the rain let up, and then realize it wasn't gonna let up. So we went to go to our place, and the whole way there, it's like lightning. It's getting worse and it's getting worse. Then we park and we go in and the rain starts raining harder. Lightning's getting worse. We go inside and we can hear, everyone's like coming in soaked. Oh, my lights just dimmed. Anyways, so we get our salads and we go to walk out. We're like, well, let's just wait a minute and see if it lets up. And then immediately when he said that, it started raining even harder. And then the whole way home, like lightning, like my nerves were on edge because the lightning was just like choo, 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 all around us. Yes, they have. I mean, we didn't get to see it for very long because it started storming again immediately. Big Island news. Us Hawaiians are on national emergency because the state wants to take Hawaiians' Holy Land. I'll have to look into that. I will look into that right after this. That's terrible. My goodness, I'm so sorry. All right. Um, I wish you could share pics in the chat because there's so many times when I'm like in these or like in another like thing and I like to share a pic of something and you just can't. That's annoying. Sorry, I'm yawning. I had to go like 2 different parties today and then live stream and it's been so hot. It's just like but it's fun. It's been a good nice full day. This next one says grandma beat up Richard Ramirez. My friend's grandma had a close encounter with Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker of Los Angeles. Grandma was doing yard work in the back and saw him jump a fence in her property. She was freaked out and started whacking him with a broom or something. It was hard enough for him to abort whatever he had planned and jump back over. Grandma sees the sketch on the news a few days later and realizes it's the same guy that she hit in her backyard. I'm still super scared of leaving any floor level windows open at night, no matter how hot it is outside. Well, I mean, Ramirez is gone, so the chances of a serial killer jumping your grandma's fence twice in her lifetime is like phenomenally high. Just an FYI. No, but like it can be exhausting when you go to 2 different parties in the same day. It's pretty rare that I go to any parties anyway. They just happen to be on the same day. I don't think there's anything fun with lightning, and especially it was cracking all over the place, and when it's pretty and it's not like it doesn't feel like it's gonna tear the earth apart, it's fun. Um, this next one's called Met Dale Hosner's Brother. About 10 years ago, I met a guy named Randy Hosner. He was a local comic and small-time promoter in Phoenix. He had a comedy night where my then girlfriend was performing. Went to a couple shows. Seemed like a nice enough guy. And if I remember correctly, he was an advocate for clean comedy. If you worked blue, you didn't work for him. Couple years later, there's like lightning and thunder right outside my window. It's like I don't think you guys can hear it, but it was pretty loud. A couple years later, his brother Dale turned out to be the serial shooter responsible for 8 deaths and at least 29 other shootings in the Phoenix area between 2005 and 2006. He passed away a few months ago while awaiting execution. Another brother, Jeff, is serving 18 years for stabbing a guy. Ooh. I went to a party one time. This just flashed in my head. This is a super long time ago. I think I was still a teenager for sure. But I was out of like I just was graduated. Went to a party. My friend's band was playing at this house out in the middle of nowhere. Finally found a spot to park. It was super dark. Walking up to it, and these guys are fighting. Like I didn't even get in to see my friend's band at all. And these guys are fighting. And all of a sudden, we hear someone say he's got a knife. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I was reading the chat. Somebody said good riddance. Good riddance. I'm lost. Anyway, so somebody says he's got a knife, and apparently when the guys were fighting, the one guy stabbed the other guy and left him in the bushes, like where you walk to the party. And literally, I was like, after the fight and people were like talking about it, I left. And best song ever. What best song? What? I'm totally lost. What song? I'm so lost in the chat. Anyways, that was scary. That was just scary. Okay, good memory tank. Oh, it's okay. I'm catching up now. Woohoo. All right. Let's see. This one says grandmother scolded Albert DeSalvo. My grandmother went to school with a Boston Strangler. After he hit on her and said something inappropriate, she hit him in the head with a book. That's literally the entire story. Next one says Kendall Francois worked at his middle school. Kendall Francois, this guy worked at my middle school. When you had lunch detention, it was with Francois. He was the assistant coach of the wrestling team. He was nice, although intimidating. He also stunk. Turns out it was the bodies in his attic. Gross. Ew. This one said she's scared off Ted Bundy. And this isn't about me, but my friend's aunt. She heard a knock on the door and thought it was her boyfriend. She wanted to scare him and got one of her kitchen knives and opened the door and yelled something. Turns out it wasn't her boyfriend, but a man asking if she needed any plumbing work done. When he saw the knife, he left. She looked out the window and saw a yellow VW bug. Turns out it was Ted Bundy, which is ironic because once he was in his like killer mode, if you've read or watched anything about him, he was ruthless. Like he was charming to get to you, but once he decided he was going to kill someone, he was absolutely ruthless. So it's really weird that she was able to scare him off with a knife. 'Cause it seems like if it was Ted Bundy, he would have just forced his way in. Does that not seem like what he would have done? I don't know. Hey, damn gypsy. Hey. Oh, bye, Swedish mom. I hope you have some nice rest. Yeah, I haven't watched them either. Um, let's see. Camped close to Raoul Moat. I've never heard of this guy. So I was camping in the Lake District here in UK 3 years back when a man named Raoul Moat went on an infamous shooting spree. We had no idea this was going on at the time. No phone reception, internet, TV, anything. But later found out he was hiding in the bushes only a couple hundred meters from where we were camping. I'm only too sure that if he had found our camp, we would all be dead. Damn. That's scary. And there was an ad for serial killers, like a little monthly subscription box. This is brought to you by Hunt a Killer subscription box. I would love to be able to say that. I would love to be able to have like this as my job, but I don't know. What do you do? Some dreams have to die, but we're here now, and let's read on. Getting stabbed is no fun. Ew. Yeah. Ted Bundy tapes are great. If you haven't watched it, you need to. Okay. I'll go back to this. Just checking the chat, see if I miss anything. This one says, half sister was propositioned by Michael Ross. Okay, I'm clueless. Not me, but my half sister. When she was in middle school, she was walking home from school, and a guy in an old pickup truck offered her a ride home. She said no because her dad had always said never to accept rides from strangers. A few weeks later, a girl went missing from her class. They found her body sometime later. The later caught the guy who turned out to be Michael Ross. All in all, he assaulted and took the lives of somewhere around 8 young girls in this Connecticut area. Sorry, I was going to say CT area, but it's Connecticut. He'd later get the death sentence. From what she told me, our dad and her mother tried to keep the details of the trial away from her at home, trying not to freak out their young daughter. She said, however, the first time she got a glimpse of his mugshot, she recognized him immediately as the man who offered her a ride. Yikes. Met Paul Bernardo at a wedding. Some of these people I don't instantly know right off the bat. Right. Exactly. I had neither. We're getting little lessons in serial killers this evening. I don't know if anyone who isn't from Canada will have heard of this guy. My throat's getting dry. But I live in an area of Toronto known as Scarborough, home of the Scarborough rapist, also known as Paul Bernardo. My best friend growing up parents went to a wedding where he was at after her parents had just had her older brother. Paul and Carla, his wife and accomplice, asked to hold her brother, and my friend's parents said sure. Kind of disturbing when they found out who he was years later. Okay, we'll have to look him up because I don't exactly know who he is. Paul Bernardo and his wife Carla? Let's look him up. Why not? Why not? Why not? Unless you guys know who it is and I can just leave it alone. But I've never heard of this person before. Let me see here. Check out Israel Keys. Yeah, her name was Carla. There's a Cricket commercial where they say, hi, bye. Oh, there is? Oh, yeah, there is. Hey, Elena. Is there anybody else? Michael Baumstein swearing is fun. It is. It sure fucking is. Motherfucking tits waggle. I want to see who can come up with the most creative swear word in like 2 seconds. Nothing? Okay. This is Paul Bernardo, also known as Paul Jason Teal, is a Canadian serial killer and serial rapist. He's known for committing several rapes in the eastern metropolitan Toronto city of Scarborough, as well as a series of highly publicized sexual assaults, tortures, and murders with his then wife, Carla Homolka. Okay, I remember this now because they killed her sister. Yeah, they killed her sister. She let him rape her sister, and then they killed her. And the crazy part is that she got out of jail and she was working with children. Yeah. Isn't that nuts? That's nuts. Ew. They were super young too. All right. BTK, this is the next one. BTK has been inside my house, held my roommate as a baby, and even knew my roommate's grandmother, going to and from school in various places. I walk some of the same streets that he would walk as he was scouting for potential victims. I asked my roommate if this bothers him, and he replied, I try not to think about it. The dude was just intertwined with my family, and it is what it is. Oh my God, that's probably the worst part is the guilt you probably feel when you know someone who is a murderer, but you didn't know until you know. You know what I mean? Ooh, oh my goodness. Picked up Eileen Warnos when she was Eileen Warnos. I picked her up one afternoon when she was hitchhiking, and this was before she began her killing spree. You know what's funny is she insisted she was innocent for a long, long time until she realized she wasn't gonna win, and then she proceeded to proclaim herself as something awful. And I don't know, her stories and her psyche seem to be very inconsistent. I don't know if she just decided to feed into what everybody was saying about her. Like obviously she killed people, but it's like she then decided to become the persona that they were painting her to be. It was really weird. And I think prison probably does some messed up things to people's heads anyway. That don't mistake me. I'm not saying that she was innocent by any means. Um, yeah, it is. A lot of them are. Um, yeah, I don't think you can go back. There's very few serial killers can you go back into their story and be like, wow, I wonder why they became a serial killer. Ted Bundy was one of them, but again, since they almost 100% of the time leave out the fact that he was a product of incest, which explains fucking everything. Why do they not ever say it? I don't understand. Like it's taboo. He murdered people, but saying he was a product of incest is taboo? Jesus. I think I have watched the movie Monster. Yeah. Ooh, I can hear the storm like brewing outside. It's crazy. This one's called Used to Be Friends with Nidil Hassan. Um, Fort Hood shooter. That's who Nidal Hassan. I'm probably saying that name wrong. Was friends with him in middle school and was acquainted with him at Virginia Tech. We were both trying to get into middle school. He was biochem and I was biology. He dropped by the football table at USUHS on and off in our first and second year. I remember one of his parents dying and he took some time off. We both got into trouble in medical school on the internal medicine rotation, and he had to retake it. We took that rotation a second time together and hung out a little, but we both failed again. I was pretty pissed off since I failed despite passing the exams, and we discussed it. He said that he was going to sneak away from the DC area and do his third rotation so that he wouldn't get targeted to fail again. But I was like, screw that. I'm taking it at Walter Reed and screw them if they fail me. He said that I was challenging the senior physicians, and I was, and that bruising their egos wasn't going to work out. He was right. He passed and graduated. I failed and left medical school after 5 years. During that same conversation, We meet for dinner at an IHOP. He did ask me if my faith got them through those tough times, and I told him that I wasn't religious. Nadal seemed like he could barely believe that. I already knew that he was a pretty devout Muslim. As for his personality, when I knew him, he was soft spoken and a genuinely caring person. He was close to his family and spent most of his time with them. At times, he could be philosophical, but he was mostly friendly and easy to be around. Fast forward to after I left the military. USUHS is a military medical school, and I'm in the car listening to the news about the Fort Hood shooter. His cousin comes on and starts going on about him. 4 years enlisted, went to VT, went to military medical school. And I'm like, I know this guy. Sure enough, it was Nadal. That photo they have of him when he was young. That was the photo from medical school. I was with him when the photo was taken. I guess a lot can change over 4 to 5 to 6 years, and I won't try to defend what he did. That was truly awful. But I can say that he wasn't all bad. Yeah, I think that's probably the general rule. That's why they go so long before they get caught, is most people can't believe that they're bad. Um, yeah, no, he didn't. He actually no. No. Yeah, I think you need to rewatch my Ted Bundy video. The thing is, though, that even when you're smart, he had no emotional intelligence. He was erratic. He was all over the place. And the fact that he went on as long as he did without getting caught is a miracle. Hey, Paul, Kate. Hello, hello. This one says, I did work for Robert Picton. I did a thing on him too. Canada's worst serial. I think he's not just the worst serial killer, he's one of the most disgusting because what he did, I mean, so he would take the remains to a processing plant. I don't know. I think you need to just watch Robert My Serial Killer Saturday on Robert Picton and what he did. Let me just make it short and simple for you. What he did made it possible that the remains of his victims could be all over the world. There's no way to know how many people he killed, and everybody could be consuming these products that have human remains in them to this day, including lotions, makeups, anything, because there's no way to know where the products went or who all the people were that he killed. That's the most disgusting one. A squirrel. Yes, thank you. He did almost get caught. Um, and I have a theory about that too. And someday I'm gonna make that timeline. Someday. I don't know if I'll ever get to do it. Let me see here. This list says mom grew up near John Wayne Gacy, so this is rather indirect, but I think it's close enough. A few years ago, I was attending a funeral with my family, and we were doing the funeral procession, where you drive from the funeral parlor to the person's house, then the graveyard. And while we were driving through this Chicago suburb, my mom starts pointing out how she lived in this neighborhood. and pointed out the house she grew up in. She continued on about houses in the neighborhood, and my attention span started to tune out. Up until she pointed out a house a few doors down from hers and said, "That was John Wayne Gacy's house, the infamous clown." Looking back on that, it explains why my mom was so overprotective of me when I was growing up. Ew. I would wonder what people that knew him when he was younger thought of him. There's no way he was just like a normal dude. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way he was just like totally normal. Right. A lot of people believe they caught him, but they didn't. Um Anyways, I'm gonna go on about that. I'm gonna get through these and that might I have to call it a night because it's already 11:30 and whew, I'm just glad the stream hasn't cut out yet, so I'm really thankful for that. And I'm really glad you guys are listening to story this evening. Really glad you guys are here. Okay. So let's get through these and see where we're at. How about that? Because I don't think I'm gonna be able to pronounce anything by the time I'm done with these. He met Richard the Iceman Kuklinski. So I met the Iceman. Many years ago, I worked for Trenton Emergency Medical Services. Our response area included Trenton State Prison, where Mr. Kuklinski was housed. Earlier in the shift, I heard one of our rigs dispatched to the prison, but paid little attention as it wasn't my call, and we went there almost daily. A short time later, I bumped into the crew that responded to the prison earlier, and they informed me that the patient was the Iceman. I asked how it went, and they said he was actually a nice guy. They also said he was huge. Now, I don't think much about it and go on with my day. Later, we're taking an asthma patient to the same hospital that Mr. Kuklinski was transported to. And as soon as we wheel our patient into the ER, I see him. Can't miss him. He was a full head above the top of the stretcher, and his feet hung off the bottom by a good 12 inches or more. Now, when the prison sent an inmate out to the hospital, they always sent two correction officers with them. Sometimes they wore sidearms, sometimes they didn't. Mr. Kuklinski was accompanied by 6 of the biggest COs I have ever seen, all wearing sidearms, 2 carrying shotguns. I have never seen this level of protection before, never saw it again. I turn over my patient and I'm standing at the nurse's station getting info for my report. I catch myself looking at him and realize I'm staring at him when he looks me in the eye and says, "What are you looking at?" I replied, "Nothing. I just never met anyone that had 3 HBO specials done on them before." He chuckled. I laughed. And that was the time I met Richard the Iceman Kuklinski. I've never heard of him before. Am I missing something? And he's had 3 HBO specials? Like, seriously? Does someone know who this is? Have you guys all heard of him and I haven't? I feel so clueless. I'm so lost. I'm so lost and confused. 99% sure it was that guy. You have heard of him, Phantom? They must be old. Oh, let's figure out who the fuck this guy is. Let's go. Richard the Iceman Kuklinski. Now, I don't remember if I did a story on a really huge serial killer or not. I think I have to go back through my things and listen to them all. I think there was a guy I was gonna do a story on that was enormous like that, but I never got to do it. Um, let's see here. Okay, so all right, let's talk about Kuklinski. He was 6'5", first of all. Obviously not the tallest person in the world, but pretty big. He was an American hitman and serial killer. He was convicted of murdering 6 people but confessed to and is suspected of far more murders. He was associated with members of the American Mafia named the Cavalcante crime family of Newark, New Jersey, and the Five Families of New York City. Um, Kuklinski was given the nickname the Iceman for his method of freezing a victim to mask the time of death. During his criminal career, fellow mobsters called him the one-man army, or the devil himself, due to his fearsome reputation and imposing physique of 6'5" and 270 pounds. Kuklinski lived with his wife and children in New Jersey. His family claims to be unaware of his double life and crimes. Well, of course they do. Why would they say that they knew anything? Throughout his criminal life, he was involved in narcotics, porn, arms dealing, money laundering, collecting debts for loan sharks, hijacking, and contract killing. While his range of criminal activities expanded, he began to make mistakes. Although Kuklinski is claimed to have killed anyone who he thought might testify against him, he became sloppy regarding his disposal of his victims' bodies. Law enforcement began to suspect him and started an investigation gathering evidence about the various crimes he had committed. There was an 18-month-long undercover investigation that led to his arrest. In 1986, he was sentenced to life imprisonment in 1988, with an additional 30 years added for murdering a mob-corrupted police officer. I mean, didn't he do everyone a favor with that one? Mob corrupted? Could there be something worse than someone that vowed to protect and serve people and then traded that all in? Wow. Unborn killer is creepy as fuck. Oh, what is that one about? Hey, Arthur. I couldn't find any scary dog stories. I think I found like lame ass ones, so I'll try harder for you next time. You're up first for the next live stream for sure. Um, Mob corrupted too, huh? Well, let's not get it. Let's not say that. There's some good ones. Okay, we're not gonna get into that. We're not gonna say anyone deserves death except for those that have actually caused harm, and then there's people from all walks of life that have caused harm to people. So let's not say that. Okay. I don't know what I'm on here. I'm gonna finish up this set of stories. And I'm gonna call it a night because I know that my throat's gonna go out. I'm just glad that everyone's here and the power's not going out. I don't want knock on wood. This one says she handled the clothing of someone who had been recently executed. I was processing a collection at an archive, which means I was making a list of all the items that were donated to us and putting that into a computer, which would become a finding aid. Oh, which would become a finding aid. Okay, so my boss hadn't told me much about the collection, and it was named after the donor, which was a law firm. So I reached my hands into the box and pulled out a gray and white sweater. It was plain. Put it in the table, very confused, but wrote out a description of it. Looking in the box again, I realized that they were gray and white sweatpants too, and a white shirt. Oh no. Not understanding why there were clothing in the collection, I went searching on the reason for the donation, and it turns out I was processing materials donated by a law firm who was challenging my state's death penalty, and the clothing was last worn by someone who had taken the lives of multiple people. I have absolutely no idea why the law firm had it, nor why they gave it to us. The person had been executed already. I put the clothing back in the box and we returned it to the law firm. It's primarily papers, so letters, finances, research notes, etc. There are certainly artifacts and other physical objects in collections, but clothing is very unusual. That's creepy. Why would you donate that? Why would you donate that? Oh my god. Ugh, Chris Watts. I think he was one of those ones where it kinda seemed obvious to everyone except for the cops that he was the killer. Like, right as soon as you say, "Oh, my family's missing," duh, he's the killer. Before he even is suspected, I thought it was way too obvious that he was a killer. Ugh. Kenyon Tollerton was a coworker. I worked with Kenyon Tollerton, I've never heard of this person either, who had multiple victims. I was at home and saw him being arrested on the news. Freaked me out. I didn't know him well, but what I did know of him wouldn't have never tipped me off that he was bonkers. Bonkers. Bonkers is a nice word for a serial killer. Encounters with Rex Krebs. Um, Rex Krebs was active in St. San Luis Obispo when I lived there. He worked at a hardware store that my roommate and I went to often. Her parents were fixing up our apartment. He had a really awesome pit bull that he brought to work, so I liked to pet the dog while waiting. He even offered me a ride home from work once. Denny's, while I was waiting for my ride and he was leaving. I think I made it because I was a redhead and he liked blondes. Fuck. Jesus. Oh my god. Murder is a gray area. Yeah. My favorite is when I'm scrolling through Facebook and I've seen 2 that I'm like, "Yeah," everyone's like, "Yeah, I'll give him a GoFundMe." One was a guy that was luring and barbecuing pedophiles, and everyone's like, "Where do I send the barbecue sauce?" And, doing the world a favor, and then the next one was another guy was hunting down and murdering pedophiles and sex offenders with a claw hammer. I mean, I don't think people like that should serve time because those people shouldn't even be out of jail ever, ever. Cannot rehabilitate them. I think that you can probably fix some severe anger issues, not all, obviously. Um, but people that do deviant things to others, they cannot be rehabilitated and should never be re-entered into society. And that's 100%. My husband's professor said it once like this, and this is the best way to describe it to people that don't get this. He said it's like telling a dog, "You're a cat. Go be a cat now." It doesn't work. It's impossible. It is in their it's within them. That's that's what they are. It's never gonna change. This one says, "Taught by Jeffrey Dahmer's father." Now, if you've ever seen it, Jeffrey Dahmer's father, I believe, was a I don't know if it'll say it here, but he was a severely intelligent person. Um, this person says, "I'm pretty excited about this statement and hope it doesn't get buried. Jeffrey Dahmer's father was my physics substitute teacher." Oh, physics teacher, that's right. "For an extended amount of time. The real teacher was old and I think just checked out of high school education. He now teaches at a close by university. When the current teacher just didn't feel like showing up, we had a teacher by the name of Mr. Dahmer for about 2 weeks. He asked to be called by his first name, and we did a bit of internet investigating and found out his son was Jeff Dahmer. Go class of 2004. Wow, I can't believe someone put that in that. story about Jeffrey Dahmer's dad and then put go 2004. This one says live near Mark Godot. The baseline killer lived about a block or so away. We walked past his house every night when we took the dog for a walk. It was pretty clear that he lived in the area based on the sites where he claimed his victims were, so it came as a little surprise to find out just how close he lived to us. I think it still would be terrifying. And like even picturing like say a random house a block away from you, so you know it's there. But then when you walk past it and you see it and then know what you know, yeah, I think that's going to be different. And this last one says sister dated Israel Keys. He was like an older brother to me when I was growing up. He moved to Alaska when I was 14, and I didn't hear from him until he began to show up in the news after being caught for taking the lives of up to 5 people. Oh, Jesus, man. Good Lord. Why? Why do you keep saying Chris Watts? Chris Watts. Scary Grim Reaper stories. Chris Watts. Why do you keep saying his name? I don't know if there's anything worse than a person that goes on television and pleads for the lives of their family to be returned and they just don't know what happened to them, knowing the entire time that they had killed him. Like that takes being a killer to another level. That person thinks they're never going to get caught. For real. Like they're just outside of themselves. It's insane. I guess there's like video and surveillance of him. I don't know, something that it seems like if there was video or surveillance of him doing anything stupid or having any part of it, seems like they would have caught him a lot sooner. Not that it went on very long, but the fact that it went on past, I don't know, a day seems too long, but there's all kinds of theories about him. There's theories that he had another girlfriend. There's theories that he was gay and he obviously didn't want any more kids. Ugh. There used to be a house like that about a mile away from me, all run down and boarded up that was just alone in a field, randomly looked like it had activity even though that was severely overgrown. Thanks, Arthur. I will try harder to find stories for you next time, Arthur. My Grim Reaper stories. I'm gonna write that down right now because I still have a page full of requests that I'm not gonna get to tonight. Um, Grim Reaper stories. I'm gonna write that down instead of the dog ones. I'm so sorry you guys aren't gonna get all of your requests in tonight. I'll have to do another I'll have to do another live stream like really, really soon so you guys can get this. So yeah. Yep, I've got all of your stuff saved. So I'm gonna try and do this again in a couple days or at least within the week. So I don't want to say a couple days and then it doesn't happen in a couple days, but at least within the week. So um bear with me. I'll start a little bit earlier in the day the next time I do that. So it might be have to be a weekday. So I know there's a lot of people that have been missing out. All right. Oh hey. Yeah, that's like a whole nother level of disgusting when they do that. They go on television and plea for the return of their family because dot 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 dot. And it was them the whole time and they knew the truth the whole time. It's just like the next level of crazy. All right. Thank you, Zena. I'm really glad that you guys came. Mwah. I'm glad that you guys came and hope you like the stories. And we will do another one really soon. Diane Downs. God, there's so many names being thrown out there. Um, but we'll do this again really soon again. So I'm really glad the internet stayed working the entire time. Good one on that. And this was good. It wasn't so like I didn't feel so rushed. I was able to like chime in on other stuff and look some other stuff up during the other. So yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So I won't be so absent from here on out, hopefully. Um, but I'm still studying to take a certification for something, and I won't share what that is until I pass it. Because if I don't pass it, I'm gonna be super bummed. But anyway, so on that note, if you're new here, we have a certain way of saying goodbye here, and we usually make fun of the Kardashians, even though I kind of like Chloe. Chloe's like one of my favorites, but whatever. And that way is so that you know that, it's kind of sarcastic, but it's not really. But I want you guys to know that I really, really love you. I'm so happy. So, um, I'm gonna say thanks for coming, and until next time, bye, 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 bye.